Welcome to episode 113 of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. Today, I'm completely privileged to have my best friend here. He was the pilot episode, and now he is pilot number 2 because he's using the setup for the first time. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Lewis Voizey.
Wow, what an introduction again. Thank you, mate.
Again, mate. I mean, we did try and do this a while ago, right? A face-to-face one.
Yep.
And it was when Harry didn't have as much investment in the show.
Yeah, the show that never showed, wasn't it?
The show that never showed, yeah.
I think we're about an hour and so in and we realised that the recording wasn't great.
It sounded like we recorded it in a tin hut, basically, yeah. And as you can hear today, mate, it sounds like we're recording it with Michael Bublé's recording equipment.
Yeah, I know. No, I think that's it's a little bit of a testament to how far this has come. So,
oh, mate, yeah. I appreciate that, mate.
Chuffed, mate.
I've put down here the 21st of January 2021.
Is that the first?
The first one.
Yeah. I actually listened back the other day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I kind of obviously when you said about coming on, I was like, if anything's going to come up on the last one, I was like, I kind of want to just listen back. So I was on the way home from work and took the opportunity. So and yeah, even like the whole, like you said, the recording of it, the sound quality, etc., etc. Obviously, that was your first one, so it was a starting block, right? But
yeah, and of course
to see where we are now, yeah. And life as well.
As well. Yeah, exactly. Different altogether, mate, I think. And like I thought, you know what, with the new setup, obviously it's not perfect. Even people who are viewing this today will, when it comes out and the clips will be released, they'll be like, oh, it looks a little bit plain. But it's the start of something. I'm going to use the word special, mate, because like it's something I'm proud of. Obviously, when I put this together with Drew, and obviously you've just seen Drew helping me get all the techie bits ready. He's quality at it. But when I saw this all together, and now I've got this place where I can actually get people around. I know it's obviously not going to be for the people who obviously I've had on the podcast from the northeast and stuff, but anybody local, like within, let's just say like 100 miles, let's use that as a total, that wants to come on the 100% podcast now can do it. And it's just nice to be able to say, look, come and use my recording equipment rather than just say, we're going to do it on Zoom. Yeah, no,
and I think, as you probably well know, when you first started it was kind of a mixed bag of audio quality and video and stuff. So, you've obviously had to go through that period of where it was obviously not as easy to get people around. But I know this was always like an aim of yours to get this kind of face-to-face interaction, because there's a different conversation a little bit as well. There's like lag, but it's always a little bit more. You've got to hone in right when you're listening to people. Don't pick up as much on the facial expressions. When you're face-to-face, it's just it's much easier.
And I feel already, I did the face-to-face ones when I took the podcast on tour, you know, and I did Paul Mort with his studio, and I was like, wow, what an experience. And then was on the guy Adam Proud's podcast, and definitely an experience for me there was knowing that you, like you say, you do pick up on the facial expressions, and you do almost like fine tune what you're saying a little bit as well. Which I almost sense from you today as well. You've come with this like little aura about you, like, okay, he's got the setup and he's going to bring something to the podcast and bring some conversation that maybe he wasn't expecting. But it's definitely something that will improve, hopefully, the quality. And of course, when you get the I'm going to use the word, the vibe from the other person, it always helps. And like, it's my job today to, as much as you're my best mate and we're pretty good in each other's company anyway, to make you feel just chilled and we'll have just a real nice conversation.
And I mean, it's more intimate than I'd say most of our interactions are, right? I mean, I'm literally like, best part of like 2-3 feet away from you, just eye to eye, like this is. Yeah,
we could have a little
first date at its finest.
All we need, mate, is a nice little. I'm gonna say it, a nice little pale ale here. Maybe a few little nibbles in the middle, and we'll be well away. Yeah,
you've got to step back from the nibbles, though. You want to hear that crunching.
They're crunching on the mic.
Especially as you've invested all this money in this crisp audio. So.
Mate, I'm gonna go straight in. You have another little one on the way.
I do, yes. Fatherhood,
for you. Yeah. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, I love it. That's the first thing that always comes to mind when you talk about it. Love it. It's obviously takes a lot. And it takes a lot out of you. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, big life adjustment the first time I came around. And even though you've gone through that one time and you kind of have had those kind of first steps with the certain stuff, it's still going to be different this time. You know, you've got the added factor of having a toddler as well as a baby in the house. So I'm just kind of excited, a little bit, nervous, but it's kind of a nervous energy. Yeah. And we're just trying to prepare for life. in the house and with everything else. So we're ready, but there's nothing I don't think can ever be completely ready. But yeah, I've loved the last. So yeah, when we came on last time, so I think Leo would have been only about 3 months old.
Incredible, yeah.
So yeah, so it was still very much kind of early days of fatherhood. So since then, like I said, he's now 2.5. And yeah, it feels like we've done so much in that time, both as a family, kind of just myself and him as a kind of a child has developed and stuff. So yeah, I've absolutely loved it so far. I would say, I think I might have said this on the first time, I can't remember, but it's definitely a calling, I think, for me. So I've always known, kind of always wanted to have children, but until you kind of go through it, and then, you know, it's that validation really of, you know, like, you know, this is what I get, this is enjoyment, you know, I give up my time willingly to kind of spend time with him. You have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
We'll probably come on to that with regards to sport and stuff, but again, it's something that I kind of personally don't have a issue with. Yeah, of course you want to have your own independence, and I still make time for that when I can, but yeah, it's, for me, it's like you said, it's something I've always enjoyed, so
yeah,
I'll continue to enjoy. And yeah,
I mean, I could definitely tell that you love it, mate, as you said. And one of the best qualities of Lewis Voizey, and I'm say this, and I'm sure people know this anyway, you're quite an unflappable character. I think, like, in all of the time that I've known you, since obviously being primed over from Wicks and Ian Collins coming to Montacute, we just clicked, obviously. And obviously the Chelsea link helped, and going up and down the country, we got to know each other better and better. But through any little, like, mini stress in life, or any challenge that you came across, you always seemed unflappable. And I think it only in all the time I've known you, there's been one situation, which we won't go into, that's like maybe rattled you a little bit. But when it comes to fatherhood, I feel like it's added more notches to your belt, like a few more notches, and it's improved you more as a character. But for you, what do you think it's helped you improve on?
God, yeah. No, I certainly agree. It certainly adds something to you. It tests you as well. So I feel like the person I was before. I'm still the same person, but there's certain things where, you know, I think you naturally, your stress levels do go up a few. Yeah, it's like I said, it's the sleep wise. We've been fortunate. We've always had him in a good routine, so that's never even since probably the early days. Obviously, the first couple of months you've always got the night feeds and stuff, but other than that, it's always been fine. But yeah, that's always been fine, so that's helped. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely made me, obviously, it's more appreciative of family. I think that's probably the most most pertinent thing about it, because I've always had a great relationship with my parents. We've always been close since I left the house. It's not been that many years, but we've always had, like, you know, we'll see each other face to face of a week at least. But having Leo and having that kind of relationship change for the better, obviously, so they become grandparents, you then obviously appreciate a lot more what they have done for you when you were obviously growing up, because they're the things, when you're a child, you're a child, you don't have those kind of awarenesses. But for me to kind of see that, going through it myself, and then have them to kind of become grandparents, give them that, but then also appreciate the work that they did for me. So it's made me a bit more of an appreciative person, and I think that just goes for more life in general.
Sick.
I'm slightly more of a worrier than I ever was. I think that was always something I always said I kind of wasn't. But yeah, I think it's because, again, you've got a dependent person now. You know, you step out the house with them, you're going 360 kind of radars on, just for obstacles or you know, any dangers, basically. Yeah. That said, like, I've always been quite trusting. I think you have to gauge, obviously, the child, but I've been quite trusting with him with regards to, like, road safety and where we are and stuff. But yeah, definitely a bit more, like, aware of my surroundings, I'd say. So yeah, a little bit longer in the tooth, I guess. But other than that, I think I've kept myself relatively the same person.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And just, like, finally on that fatherhood note, seeing your little guy growing and learning and doing different things, how does that, like, make you feel as a dad?
Yeah, it's one of the best feelings, I'd say, because it's for me personally, in the way and everyone's obviously got their own styles, and it's, you know, it's there's many different ways you can do it, right? But for me, it's always giving him the ability to try it himself. You know, you almost want to test him that little bit, and I think that's more of a dad thing than you know, I'm not saying it's too stereotypical, but typically find your dad's a little bit more kind of, no, let him do it, let him try it, let him fail, and then help them, kind of thing. But yeah, for him to take the strides that he has, both with him at nursery and the way he's kind of adapted to being, because obviously he was born in COVID, and there was a slight gap in his probably social stuff, just purely because we weren't able to go out and do things. He wasn't in baby groups as early as you would like, so there was a little bit there. But when he went to nursery, he kind of soon got into the swing of it. Just got on really well. We obviously had good feedback. So just that all is, as a parent, is all you want, isn't it? You just want them to be happy. You want them to obviously want to behave.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just want them to be socially interactive. But then just the way he is, the character that he is, we couldn't ask for anything more from him. Honestly, he's brilliant. And just like watching him. So I take him to a little football group on Sunday mornings. For me, it's just getting him out, enjoying it. There's
right
an
foot,
assault
left
course.
foot.
Yeah, there's a few things, drag backs a lot. He can do a drag back actually.
Oh,
now.
sick.
So,
taught it. Yeah.
So yeah,
his dad can't do that. So
no, exactly. Yeah. If I want to get, there's anything, I just want him to be better than me. That's it. I think I've succeeded there. And one thing he could improve on me is just tricks and skills and stuff. So but yeah, it's not like a Project Mbappe or anything. I'll just kind of gauge it for how he feels. But yeah, just going back to the question really. So for me, it's just, I said, I always test it. I've naturally just got quite high standards anyway. And I just want them to be the best version of themselves, right? Cliche as it sounds, but yeah. So I'm always doing things with them. Always, like, if it's reading or if it's like doing words or letters, numbers, colours or whatever. Always just giving that little, just testing it, and if he gets it, you just kind of do a bit further to see how far. And so far, he just passes every test. So
insane.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And obviously you're biased, right? But at
Yeah.
the same time, I feel like I've got quite a fair perspective.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I would definitely agree with that. And without leaving her out, you can't bring up a child without an amazing partner as well. And you and Leah just seem to go from strength to strength to strength. So how important is your relationship to bringing up Leo and Layden?
Yeah, of course. Well, as they say, behind every great man.
There you go.
So yeah, no, it's been great. I think the relationship that we have together, because life's not easy. We're not alone in that. We have our own challenges at home and obviously outside of home and stuff. But through everything, we've always been kind of a real solid pair. We kind of always see eye to eye on everything, which is scary in some respects. You always thought there's going to be a catch at some point, or there's going to be something that we're going to fundamentally disagree on, and it just hasn't appeared yet. We're now, like I said, 5 years now. Marriage that was supposed to be this year, obviously with the baby coming, that kind of poo-pooed that. But yeah, we're going to be 2 babies in a house and a wedding soon. So I feel like we've gone this far. I feel like we've kind of passed most tests. But yeah, bringing the next one in, that would be 3 children in the household. That would certainly test patience and whatnot. But no, we've just got this really good dynamic, especially with bringing the children up, where, we kind of give each other that, that bit of license, so we don't interfere with each other. If she's disciplining or instructing the other one, I'm not going to necessarily jump in and say no, and vice versa. So we just respect each other like that. And yeah, just communication. Again, I know it's so cliche, right? But it genuinely is huge. Like, just communication. One thing with our relationship, just her and I, and what it does for me, and why I think it works so well is that understanding. There's an age gap between us, right? So I'm a little bit younger, and it just means that there's still a few things that I've still wanted to do and kind of still want to do. And she's just all along our kind of relationship together, she's always been understanding and respectful of that. Never once has she ever kind of said, nope, you can't do that, or you're not doing that anymore, or you're too old for that, or you've got the family at home or whatever. Now I think I always put credit in the bank, so I can kind of afford myself.
This is such a Lewis Voizey saying.
Oh yeah,
explain to listeners credit in the bank. Go on.
Credit in the bank just basically means you do your work around the house, you do your errands. You look after the kids when you need to look after the kids.
I love it.
And you're rewarded with a night out or an Ibiza trip, or it depends how much credit you put
at
home.
Yeah.
So I've been really grafting for that Ibiza trip last year. But no, but that's the perfect example, right? Again, it was never a question of like, no, you can, or what about this, what about that? It was just, yeah, I know you've wanted to go. We obviously went in the COVID period, which was a little bit of a damp squid for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, slightly.
But yeah, so she knew that I wanted to do it, and yeah, she's brilliant, and I won't go all soppy, but
nah, mate. Do you know what I think as well? What a different conversation to the first time you came on the show. Firstly, I think, as you're aware, the podcast definitely changed channels, changed direction a little bit, and I think it's important to stay on track with that today. But you mentioned communication as one of the fundamentals to why your relationship's so good. Do you have any other things that you can pinpoint as well? Because for me on the outset, you've already mentioned as well that there's like I wouldn't even use the word boundaries, but the things that you just allow each other to just like live the lives that you kind of previously had prior to meeting each other is still there. You look after each other really, like in terms of what I mean by that is you both look after yourselves well, like from an individual point of view. Do you think that's like a real addition to making a successful relationship?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a guru, but I think definitely it's worked for me and it works for us. And I would, like I think you're spot on with it. Really, we've been able to we've allowed each other to continue living as we were. In terms of like, we're very much together. We enjoy doing stuff together, first and foremost. But we also have, we have our independence as well. We have our friendship groups, and we have our other interests. And I think we've always been respectful of that. And it's a two-way street, so I've obviously been allowed to go on things. Obviously, as you know, Jamie, one of my best mates, lives up in London. Yeah. So going to see him is not, it's not a couple-hour trip. So, and it's always been a thing of, I don't go up there for a few days and then go MIA on her necessarily, so I just make it work around us and that works. And, anytime that she wants to do stuff with her friends, she's got a good friendship group, then she's more than welcome to do it. So you just gotta work it together, communicate, obviously. But no, I think that's one thing certainly for me that's helped me in the relationship. It's made me kept me as myself. Is just that she's just given me that license to kind of still do what I've wanted to do, encourage me, support me. She's been brilliant, whether that's from a sporting aspect or a work aspect. So, I mean, since I think I'd moved jobs when we'd spoke, but I've kind of had about 2 or 3 jobs since then. Obviously, like most people, just trying to work yourself up that career ladder. And every step of the way, she's kind of been behind me, supportive, encouraging, and I've taken kind of big jumps before, especially in a career aspect. And I had her backing 100%. And bearing in mind that was going through a time when it was middle of COVID. Yeah,
I remember that vividly.
We had a baby on the way. So she was soon to be on maternity pay. We had only been in the house less than a year, so we had a mortgage over our heads. I decided to basically take voluntary redundancy, and she she was fully supportive of that. So things like that, they stay with me. So I've kind of got huge respect for those types of things.
Yeah, I love it, man. And as you quite rightly mentioned earlier, it doesn't go without sacrifice. Obviously, with the third little one of the family coming along, and obviously being able to maintain everything that goes along with that. So you went back for potentially what was a last dance at senior football last year. And previously on the podcast, we did have a chat about how the higher level of the game sometimes didn't quite tick the box for you in terms of, for one reason or another, it just didn't work out, the commitment to travel and just not being involved in the squad. But last year, again, looking from afar and watching my mate like succeed at Wincanton under Chris Wise was good to see from everybody's point of view, I think, mate, because I think the last dance that you wanted to do actually went well.
Yeah. Well, it came down to the penalty shootout at the end, and I think if we'd won that, it'd have gone even better. Yeah. But no, from a personal level, 100%. So, bit of context, like you said, around it was I continued the yo-yo, and I think I mentioned that on the first time I came on it. But yeah, I had a bit of an itch that I needed to scratch, to be honest, with football. As you know, I've been playing locally, Ilchester, for I think it was 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 years it would have been, mate. Yeah.
And thoroughly enjoyed it, and we did really well. And it was convenient with the lifestyle. But yeah, I just kind of had this. I just had this thing at the back of my mind, or just playing a little bit and thinking like, and I think I was suppressed it by saying, just life's too busy right now. If it quiets, when it quiets down, and let's be honest, it's not going to quiet down. If anything,
especially not for you.
Ramp up. So yeah, I just kind of got towards the end of the last season, and I was just contemplating it, and obviously used my usual soundboard of Leah, and was just like, this is what I'm thinking. And again, she was fully behind that, and I managed the expectations there and then, because we hadn't actually been together properly throughout a full kind of senior season of football. So it was just trying to help her understand that it's going to be minimum of twice a week, be that training or games. The games are going to be from anywhere from 4-5 hours out the house for like a home game to it could be 6-7 hours for some of the away games. So yeah, it was just kind of making sure that was understood. And but no, she was fully behind me for doing it. The reasons, like I said, I wanted to go back. It's been speaking to a few of the lads kind of in the last run up to the end of their last season. They went on a really good run. So I'd spoke to a few of them in the gym, obviously kept in touch with a few, and I don't know, just in those conversations, it was just like, look, when it's going good, right, you want to be a part of something.
Of course,
and I guess although they narrowly missed out on promotion that year, I just felt like, look, if I go back now, if I do it, I've kind of scratched that itch, so to say, and if that's that, then I know that I can kind of leave and go back to doing whatever capacity of football, and that I've done it. If I didn't do it, then it would always be that kind of lingering thing, I think, for me. So I'm glad, especially with the baby news, which was unexpected, and that was kind of mid-season, but I'm glad I did it, because it certainly wouldn't be a kind of feasible now. And we'll probably come on to that in a second. But yeah, last year was really good. Kind of exceeded my expectations, to be honest. So I kind of went out there. Originally, I did kind of arrange with Chris that it was going to be on a part-time basis.
Yeah, so I remember you saying.
Still going to be between Ilchester and Wincanton. I went out for a couple of pre-season matches. Really good. It's probably about half of, about 30-40% maybe of the players that I played were there the first time I was there. So quite a few new faces, but really kind of welcoming to me. Played a few of those pre-season games, and just kind of felt like I could have a bit more of this. And as people probably know with Chris, if you know Chris, he's, I think I said this last time, he is quite persistent, and when he wants someone, or he's interested, then he'll kind of go about it in a few ways. But he's been great, and he just, like I said, look, this is my situation. I need a couple more people full time to make the squad. I want one of them to be you. So just like, look, have a think about it. I was on holiday at the time. He's like, have a think about it, mull over it. He said, just let me know, because if it's not, then I'll have to go and find someone. But if it is, great. And my first choice is obviously to ask you. So I thought about it on holiday, and I just thought,
what a charmer, eh?
Yeah. Like I said, he's gone for the softer approach this time, but it still worked. But yeah, I just thought, let's go for it. So I jumped in 2 feet, came back from a couple of holidays, because I was away for most of September. So I caught up with the squad a little bit later, and joined in. I literally played straight, like literally the day after I came back from Ibiza, which was I was ropey, to say the least. And went straight in. He was short, so he's like, I need to play you. Play centre back as well, so you've got to be switched on for 90 minutes. We won, got man of the match, which was I still can't believe how I did it now, because that was the Saturday. I probably led on the living room floor most of Sunday, and was off work Monday, and told him I couldn't play Tuesday, so it just caught up with me. But from then on, I played it every game after that I started, which I never thought would happen, to be honest. So yeah, I played, I'd say, in excess of 40 games, including some of the cup games. I missed 2 because I was away, and yeah, that was beyond what I thought was going to happen at the start. So yeah, if we think about like my previous experiences, both at Wincanton and other clubs, to be part of that for the whole the whole season, kind of integral in the team. Again, a couple of different positions, but mostly playing kind of that holding midfield role, which is my preference. Really felt a part of it, and yeah, we went. We had a bit of a patchy season, to be honest. We made the playoffs in the end, but we had injuries, a couple of people that came and went at different times, so it never really felt like we had a lot of consistency, both with the team selection, because it was for those reasons, but also with our results. But managed to make the playoffs, and then yeah, we just fell short of the mark in the semis on pens, which was a shame. And I think I had an extra bit of not disappointment, but yeah, just sadness towards the end of that game, just knowing that was going to be probably my last, or certainly in this capacity, playing you know, for the team kind of all the time. But yeah, I've decided, as we are now, I've decided that I'm still going to sign on this year.
Yeah.
So I can support when I'm needed, but yeah, for me, it's just with the extra one on the way, it's just a bit too much going on. So
yeah, and one thing about the Tool Station leagues, as you quite rightly said there as well, is 40 games minimum plus potential playoffs plus Saturday, Tuesday. It's hell of a relentless, isn't it? And I mean, obviously, you speak about like the injuries and how the Premier League players and managers sometimes moan about the relentless amount of games that they have, but they've got all the cryo chamber, the physios, the full-time physios. You've got 8 physios per like a squad of 16, so you've got a physio basically for every other player. You don't get that at Wincanton, do you?
No, you get Quinn Adlam, who tries his very best, bless him. But yeah, it's certainly a far cry from the facilities and the support network that they've got at that level. And you're right, like I said, the games are almost the same amount as you look at some of the Premier League teams, especially if you're in the cup competitions. We had a run in the FA Cup last year and the FA Vars. So that added probably at least 10 games extra to the season. And it's great for the club because it's obviously extra money each round you go through. But it can be quite wearing on people. And by the end of the season, yeah, you could just tell, and I felt it as well, you know, you were exhausted, you know, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And you're right, you kind of finish your game Tuesday night, you've been away in Bristol area, you might have picked up a bit of a knock, dead leg, whatever. You got to bundle yourself in a car of 4 or 5 of you. You know, it's like peak winter. Travelling back to the Oval, we get home, I don't know, 12 o'clock. First thing you do is dump your bag off, probably go to sleep. You're up at the morning at 6:30, go to work for a whole day. You know, and then life just carries on. And then sooner or later, you're either back at training or back at the game. And yeah, it's that, you know, week after week after week, it does catch up. So, yeah, and then towards the end of the season, with some of the weather issues that we had earlier on, just meant we had a real bad fixture congestion. And we were playing, so we played 2 weeks consecutive where we had 22 games in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And most of us played both of them. So yeah, it was a weird experience because you just kind of, at the time, you just kind of ride it. But yeah, again, that just kind of catches up with you. So no, it's certainly the case that you don't have the resource around.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Obviously, as you said earlier, life gone in a different direction for me. Preaching most days on social media about the positive effect that looking after my physical health and mental health has had on me. For you, obviously, being your mate over the last however many years it's been, since 2015, 16, I think you signed on for Montacute, just plucking that out the air, as I do with these Montacute stats every now and again. Yeah, I was different then, first and foremost, but ever since you signed on, you were like such a fit lad, and you've always had this knack of being able to look after yourself, which I mentioned earlier. How important is it for you that you're always in a good state physically?
Yeah, I think it's kind of almost ingrained in me to keep myself in check. If we're talking physically, that is certainly. So yeah, I think I said this before. I've always ever since obviously really young playing in football teams, but then just going to when we went into the Oval, and then you're trading 3 times a week, then we would go for the gym once a week. So, and then went into college, and then it was just relentless then, because we did sports science as a course, so you're training a few times a week, football training that is. Then you've got like a strength conditioning session.
Yeah.
We were at the gym when we had 3 periods, and then you're playing at the weekends, playing midweek for college, and then as soon as the football season finishing, we were then going on doing athletics. So it just never really stopped. And then I just don't know, it was just an habitual thing for me, I think, then, was fitness, exercise, be that at the gym, and obviously playing football most weeks. And that's never really let up. So, yeah, like I said, it's just kind of ingrained in me to do it. I can't, there's not many days that you'll just find me sat around anyway.
Yeah.
So even if it's not kind of purposeful exercise, it's kind of,
moving.
Yeah, just doing things around the house, garden or whatever, or just with the kids. You know, I get cabin fever. worse than most, so I just can't spend too much time indoors. So I just want to get out and do something, if that's just taking around.
Do you know where that stems from at all? Is that something that was ingrained in you from your parents? Was there any was there? I can't imagine your mum and dad being the type of people that would just sit in front of the TV on a Sunday afternoon.
That's exactly it. You literally won't find them doing it. I mean, they're probably slowing down a little bit now. But yeah, there was very rarely a time where you'd walk in, kind of like you said, mid-afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, and see them both with the feet up. There'd always be something to do.
Yeah.
So that's probably where it's come from, to be honest. I think they've always had, I think naturally they've always got quite a good work ethic, but just being very house proud, done a lot around the house and in the garden and stuff. And I guess I drew inspiration from that, kind of taking it into my own house now. I just kind of, like I said, you sit there and you see something, or you know something needs doing, and you're just like, right, I'll do that first and do that first. And
yeah,
especially now with having obviously at least one child, and especially a child of Leo's age, where they do need kind of continuous stimulus, and they do need obviously attention. You need to be around them. The gaps that you have to do things are quite limited. You know, I don't get that much free time anymore, so you kind of have to take all the opportunities you get. So in terms of like sitting around, I'm either doing stuff with him, so you're not sat around, or when I haven't got him or he's asleep or whatever, I try and make the most of that time. So and now obviously transitioning kind of from playing football all the time, like I say all the time, but being at Wincanton last year and training and playing, etc. It's going to give me some time back. Obviously I intend to use that time, you know, with family and stuff, but I'll also have a bit of my own time to kind of
come running with
exercise. Come running with you, yeah, on your mad venture to do the ultra marathon. So that was good the other day. I enjoyed it, and I'd like to do a bit more training because it keeps me out. So I love. As you know, I'm not bad at running, but I just don't have that love for it. I wish I did a bit more. I wish I could just be like, do you know what? I'm just going to go out and just smash the 10k. But yeah, I find it a bit more of a chore sometimes. But I'm going down the gym a lot more than I was because it's very hard to keep up any gym program during the football season, especially if you're doing like strength work, any weights. So I've got a program now. So hopefully I can just channel my kind of energy into that.
Yeah, I say it's frustrating, but it's actually, like I said the other day, going off of one of the things I put on one of my coaching posts is comparison the thief of joy, or can it be the creator of inspiration? And look, I'm never going to be of the level of, well, I say this, right? I'll have an ultra marathon under my belt, and you won't maybe in October if it goes well.
But you don't know if I've signed up.
Yeah, this is very true. When I see you flying over the first mountain, when I see you flying over the first cliff in the distance, I'll be like, oh Jesus Christ!
But
what's frustrating in some respects is that like you just bound along as if nothing's affecting you, and you're talking as if you're just walking. And then running alongside Lewis Voizey sometimes puts your fitness levels into perspective. But mate, I think running is a funny one, just on that subject, because I don't think there's a run ever that you love all the way through, because there's like a funny balance between. So when I was training for the half marathon, I was pushing for pace. But of course, when you push for pace, you're pushing your body harder, which then leads to your brain going, ugh, this is hard. And then, of course, with the ultra marathon training, it's completely the opposite in terms of pace. You've got a rough idea of how long you want a mile to take. Apart from that, it doesn't really matter. If you drop 10 seconds below it or 10 seconds above it, I'm pretty content. So that also can lead to a little bit of, I'm going to use the word complacency, because you're just bumbling along. But the one thing that I found the other day is when I ended up doing 15.5 miles, which is the longest I'd ever ran, ever. And I always get a little bit of cramp issue around that distance mark, which is because I'm just losing so much sodium, which is something that I've learned a lot ever since I was training. I've always been a sweaty guy anyway. Any of my mates will tell you I'm a sweaty guy, but obviously when I run it's even more so, and I've got to be so careful, like hydrations and making sure that my salt levels don't drop, because obviously that's the creator of cramp, which I'm experiencing.
I have to stick some drinks and bushes.
Yeah, mate, honestly, I've been thinking of all sorts of different plans for how I'm going to be training, because what's hilarious about this ultra marathon training is I'm going to have to run a marathon, or run/walk a marathon for training.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous. But I spoke to an ultra marathon runner the other day, and this was news to me. Any more than 3 hours, you're wasting your time anyway because of the recovery afterwards. So I know that run that we did a week ago Saturday was near enough the longest that I'll have to do during training. So I think my challenge will be, how much distance can I cover in 3 hours? That's going to be the thing. So if you're up for a 3 hour jaunt soon, mate, then we'll see what we can do.
As long as it passes a coffee shop.
Yeah, that's it. Coffee and food, I think we'll have to pick a location where we've got like a halfway point where there's a pub, a coffee shop, and like somewhere to refuel, and then we can just bundle on back, get there quick,
and a scenic route as well. That always helps.
But
right? That's things I always like said. Running for me it's like most sports, right? You know, there's that the kind of the mental versus physical balance is surprisingly close. And running is probably one of the top ones, because like you're right. There's never one run where you feel like you're all in check.
No.
You know, your body's kind of doing what you want it to do. And not giving you any signals that it wants to give up. So you do need that mental strength to kind of just overcome that initial kind of like, no, you're fine, you don't need to stop, you don't want to stop, but also like checkpoints in your mind, and thinking, and also like if there's like little segments that you know, like, right, I want to smash this hill, or I want to make sure I can get recovery down a hill, or whatever it is. You always kind of just play those little mental things to yourself just to kind of keep yourself going.
Yeah.
For the duration that you're talking and the distance, like you said, you've got to keep
managing.
Yeah, you've got to keep managing it. Like I said, you've got to almost break it down into segments and think, right, this is what I need to do to get to that bit. If I need to walk, then so be it. Like you said, that time thing. But I think, as long as you kind of keep mentally well framed.
Yeah. I think there's something that I took from, David Goggins, the he's like Mr. Motivator basically.
Yeah,
but in the personal development world, he's like a SEAL. And he says he's done 200 miles across the desert and like all sorts of ridiculous things. He says, even if you're in the biggest hole in the world, just ask yourself, can you take one more step? And funny enough, when I did the fan dance, there was this point where my feet I obviously told you the story already, and I've definitely said it on the podcast before, but there was a point I was walking, mate, at the end of it because my feet had shredded apart, and I was going up Jacob's ladder, and I had flashbacks the other day because one of my mates posted that they'd done it, and they posted specifically the last little tier of Jacob's ladder on Pen y Fan, and it's so steep. But I was in so much pain. Mm-hmm. But I was just saying, just do 5 paces, 5 paces, stop, breathe, 5 paces, stop, breathe. And I got to the top of it, and I was like, fucking hell, like I've done it. And it was such a, like you say, like when it comes to resilience and mental resilience, putting yourself in those holes actually just weirdly, it doesn't break you. It genuinely does make you a stronger person at the end of it. And I think with the training and this ultra marathon I say it's on the horizon, it's still a good time away, which is good. But I think after that, from a fitness perspective and a mental perspective, when it comes to physically training, I'll be even better than I am now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you've achieved something like that, even a marathon would have been good enough. But to go that one bit further, like you said, if you can do that, what else can you do, right? And what else can't you do?
Yeah,
it's that kind of, like you said, again, with a bit of crossover with general life as well. For me personally, is I would say in terms of my mental resilience, it's good, and I think that reflects in running as well.
Yeah,
I've never had that. Like I said, it's always that kind of like, keep going, even though you're feeling like you can't do it. It's just like, just take one more step. Or if it's competitive, it's just like, just can you get past that next person, or it's just, always having that. I think that even if you're going out on your own, it's that competitiveness to it as well.
For sure,
I honestly, I don't run without Strava on, because it for me, even though it does exactly the same thing for my physical and mental, well-being and health and whatnot, for me, it's like I want it recorded so I can baseline it against or compare it against what I did last time, and then I can either analyze it and say, right, did better, did worse, or I beat that segment, and then you look at some of the competition, look at some of the ladders as well. The leaderboards. I like, even you just running a very solo independent sport, I always kind of still have that competitiveness to it, even if it's just with myself.
Yeah, for sure. It's always nice to see like the gold medals come up. It's interesting actually. I was speaking to Ant about it. He doesn't run with it anymore because he said we on a stag do we were talking about running, funny enough, and he's quite a good runner, and he was saying that it can put extra. It can take enjoyment away from the run sometimes, right? If you feel like you've had a good run and then you look at Strava and you realise that you're 2 minutes behind your best or something like that. And it's interesting because Aaron as well, who obviously is a very good runner as well, he runs with it on, but he's taken the element of like trying to stick to pace, if you like, away from his running. And I think it can add a little bit of enjoyment. Like I said to you as well earlier, now with me going from one element of training, trying to be on pace, like knowing that when I went to the half marathon, I was like 5:40 minimum for Ks, and obviously did it way quicker than I wanted. Visioned doing it, which was incredible, great experience. Anyone who wants to do a half marathon, do Weymouths as your first, because it was great, and it's great views, as Voizey said earlier. And it's definitely, well, I mean, I think maybe I'm just being biased because it was my first and it went well, so who knows? But definitely do Weymouth half marathon. But then to the other extreme of taking it away and taking the pressure off. And what Ant said, going back to Ant, is you see people put reasons why their run's not as quick. Yeah. Oh, a bit of a slow day today, wasn't quite feeling it. But at the end of the day, on a like deep level, at least you went out and done it, mate. Like, it doesn't matter, really. You're only, like you said, you're only really trying to beat yourself. You're not trying to compare your run to somebody else. Like, it'd be stupid of me to say, right, I'm going to go out and do a 10K and try and beat Lewis Voizey and Aaron Harley's records. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd be disappointed if I didn't do it. But, like, I mean, I think the point stands, right? The running element is more about you v you. On that day, what can you give yourself? Can it just be a chilled one? Yeah. Does it really matter? Can you take the pressure fully off yourself? Take your ego out of it, because sometimes that's what it is, right? When it's you for you, it's like, right, I want to do this.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, and I said that, like, I don't think it's necessarily always, like you said, the best thing. I think sometimes you can be your worst enemy, because you do always, like you said, if you've done it, you've done a PB or a good run 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago, and you still use that as your benchmark. And then you wonder why you can't achieve it, and then you can end up going a little bit too in that spiral of like, well, I'm not as fit as I used to be, and I don't do this and I don't do that, and it's good, like you said, it kind of takes away the fact that you've gone out and exercised first and foremost, and that's good no matter what. It's proven and etc. Both on a physical and a mental level. But it's also that there's so many things that factor into it, especially when you're. Let's be honest, if you're an elite professional at any of these sports, then it is a lot easier to track if you're drifting or to if you're improving or whatever, or get into the analysis a bit more. But when you are doing amateur sports, recreational sports, and you live a kind of a 9 to 5 work, and you have other things that go on, and like you said, if you've done stuff and you haven't cooled down or stretched or whatever, and that was 2 days ago, and you've been at the gym doing something, that's going to have it's going to play a part or have an effect in what your time could be, or if you haven't eaten as much that day or drunk that much that day. It's all these little things will play a part in that run, so you can and you don't sometimes use those things. I know you, like you said, it's a bit of a slow day for that, and that is somewhat true. But yeah, you can get too bogged down in thinking that you always have to be making that kind of like those incremental improvements each time, and not just realize that, look, I've gone out, it's a tick in the box. I said I was going to run 10K today. I ran 10K today. It doesn't matter if I got holding that hill,
promise
to yourself. It doesn't matter if I got sub that time. So,
and I think that's really it as well. When you say you're going to do something and you've gone and done it, you really don't need to justify to anybody like why you may not. And the other thing I was going to add to that as well is I've been there before as well. When you're like, you've just done a 5K PB, and then the next time you want to go out and do it, and the chances of that are so slim that you're going to have the same good run and better. And the amount of people that I'm going to use the word frustrate, but I don't really mean that, because I've been there. I've been that person that's gone and done a 5K PB or whatever it is, 1 mile, maybe 2 mile PB, and like the next time I've gone out and tried to beat it and then been frustrated at the end of it. Like I'm a novice really when it comes to running, but if you are in that state of mind, I advise you to stop doing that. Like, how can you find enjoyment another way? Because going out and beating or trying to beat PBs on a regular basis isn't going to be good for enjoyment levels, and also it's pretty damn impossible to do. Mate, we've gone on a good running tangent there, and we've been going a little while now. I want to take us back to the start, right? The 21st of January, 2021, the first podcast with me and you on the Grassroots Guys show. What have you found different today compared to the first one? Seeing as though you have listened to it back as well.
Yeah. Well, I got your face to look at.
Well, first and foremost, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we think about it with regards to the podcast, the setup and things, obviously the strides in which you've taken since then. We obviously didn't know at the time. We had spoke before setting it up about what it was going to be, and I know I was kind of a soundboard for you a little bit with ideas and whatnot. But you never knew quite the direction that it was going to take. You know, even as it was with the grassroots stuff, let alone where we are now. Right, I think maybe in the back of your mind you had an idea of doing something like this, but actually kind of, you know, putting that into practice, and then just being able to keep the momentum. I'll be honest, did I ever think it was going to last? What episode? Sorry, are we on
113 today, mate.
I didn't think it would go that far. That's probably because at the time you probably weren't going to find 130 grassroots people to interview locally. But that just shows like good evolution, really. And yeah, I think when we had that one, and life just seemed a lot different at the time, right? And I don't want to harp on about it too much, but it was different, and you know, it was a time for reflection, and I think that kind of like came out in a lot of those early interviews.
Yeah,
particularly my own, and that was the basis of the show at the time, right? It was more around, right, we want to talk to different people of different backgrounds, but kind of with their involvement in grassroots sports, and you find that no matter how big or successful someone was, everyone had quite an interesting story to tell.
Sure thing.
For many different reasons. So, yeah, to be a part of that at the start was great, and that was what the podcast was. Obviously, like I said, how it's progressed and developed into what it is now, and with what you're doing. No, it's really good to see. I'm proud of you, because it's like you said. I think there's tenacity, because there's no one pushing you to do this. You know, there's the incentive is only for your own development. You know, in a professional kind of manner, but also just personally, you know, this was clearly you'd enjoy doing it. You wouldn't just do it because, you know, you wanted to earn more or open more doors. So you generally do enjoy doing it, enjoy having this kind of interaction with people. So to be able to do it like this in this kind of setting now, and I think it's brilliant.
Thanks, mate. What do you think the biggest changes in me have been since 2021 January, just out of interest? Yeah, a bit smaller.
No, I think there's been many. But no, certainly your fitness journey, I'd say, is probably the highlight. I think you'd probably
it's definitely up there.
Because look, whilst I think you were on a positive trajectory then, there was still a lot you wanted to do. There was still some milestones that you wanted to hit, and I feel like you've kind of hit and exceeded those in that time. So that's kind of gone hand in hand with this as well, kind of on a professional level. So being able to take what was basically, like you said, a basic setup with, you know, what you had to work with at the time, and just reaching out. It
was literally this.
Yeah, well, you had one, no one else did. So it's like you get Harry on one side of the audio, which is like, it's crisp and all that, and then you get somebody sat all the way back here,
or with some dodgy knockoff AirPods.
Yeah, even mine wasn't. I listened to the other day, I was like, that's a bit, you know, and but yeah, so to come this far with it, but also to kind of go through the other aspects to this, obviously with your coaching and stuff. You know, that again, it's because you're wanting to do it. You're doing this on the side of a day job, right? So it's not like you have an infinite kind of resource or time to give to it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, like, people can make excuses for anything they want to do, or they've got an ambition for, a dream of doing, and saying, oh, you know, I'd love to do that, but I just don't have time, you know. And sometimes, okay, there's not enough hours in the day to do everything, but if you really want to do something, you just have to make time for it. You know, you will, whether that's compromising, sacrificing, or just, you know, rather than doing that tonight, or rather than not doing that, I want to do it because, you know, even though it's not gonna, every little thing is a tiny little block. You know, it's not gonna happen overnight. You know, you weren't going to get this overnight. You weren't going to get loads of clients overnight. You weren't going to set that up overnight. You just had to just work at it. And considering that the first bit of things that you did was really reach out to people that you knew, and that's all you had at the start.
Yeah.
Just to interview, and it's a few family members and close friends initially, which kind of had to be that way, to then just to reach out to get the pull of professional athletes. There's been some big names and more than just football as well, which I think was important, that you had to kind of reach out to a bit more of a range of sports, because it was more around obviously grassroots sports I mean, we associate that with the football, but and that probably helped you then just to kind of like harness a bit more of what your kind of delivery was as well.
Yeah,
just being able to speak from different people, different perspectives, but just different sports, because you know about football. I know you know about football. Everyone probably knows you know about football. You know about cricket and a couple other sports, but you then kind of stepped out your comfort zone again. Had to do it, and then worked more into like, again, it was like, right, I've done the kind of, I would say the foundation level here, done the sports. Now I want to look at or talk to people that come from more of a sports psychology background or physio, whatever that was. I think physiotherapy. If you had anyone?
Yeah, physios, sleep coaches. What else? All sorts of like nutritionists. Yeah, it's been a wild ride in the greatest. And honestly, mate, I remember the walk we did. I remember walking up through the park by Buckler's Mead.
Yeah.
And I was sat, literally, like you say, I was soundboarding you. I was like, is it going to be like Football Manager? Is it going to be football? Is it going to be... I just knew that it was something. And as everybody's aware, I've always been a personable person, if that makes sense. And I always knew I had a little bit more to give with my own little journey that was taking part. And of course, at the time, did I know that I'd get to go and use Paul Mort's facility to interview him? Did I know that I'd be hopefully speaking to Through Dark really soon, the owners of Through Dark down in Poole, the old Special Forces guys? No, but I couldn't have done it without those early ones. And without those early ones, I would never have really fine-tuned actually what it was that I was going to go into. And I remember early, even with you on the first ones, I'd speak to you about the mindset, why, not like deeply, but I'd always want to know a little bit more about why it didn't, why you think it didn't work out for you in those football things. And when it was Coombsy, and we were literally speaking about when he was a kid and he would like go out and ride quad bikes like an idiot. And I was like, you've always been fearless. Where's that come from? Like the psyche of people has always interested me. And like today, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure getting you back on to, and I don't want it to come across like we're just like bigging each other up sat here, but the title of the podcast now is 100% Podcast. You're definitely somebody that offers. I wouldn't get you back on here if I didn't feel that you fitted into the script of how the show is now. Like the things that you were saying about with your kids and the way that you've set your life up to be able to look after yourself and other people and be a top mate at the same time. That always, like, as any time I've been in the fucking mire, which has happened a few times, you've always been there, mate. And like when you say that somebody's got a tough shoulder that you can lean on, not physically, but I think I could genuinely tell you anything and you would have some sound advice for it, mate. So you're on the 100% Podcast for a reason, mate. I think it's been an absolute pleasure to have you back on. I'm buzzing that it's been you, mate. The pilot number 2
I'm
with
proud to be the one.
Pilot number 2 with the new equipment. We've talked about some different stuff to the first time, and this is what I mean with regards to you, mate. I knew I could get you on, and I knew I could tap into those little extra bits that I like to talk about now, and you'd be able to hold your own with the conversation. I don't mean that patronisingly. I just know that you're quite a deep thinker at times as well. So Lewis Voizey, mate, to wrap up the podcast, I want you to do a top 4 prediction of the Premier League this year, and I want you to ask a question off the top of your head to me over like bringing in the last 2 years, wrapping up, that you want to know that you may not have asked me as a mate.
All right, okay. I'll start the easier one.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do the top 4.
Yeah, I've literally stitched him up here, listeners.
I'll give you some thinking time. I don't think you can look beyond City right now.
Yeah. Over 38 games.
For the first spot. I mean, take today out of the equation. Time of recording, it's the Community Shield.
Yeah.
Just lost on pens, but it doesn't matter. No, I think they've still got too much. And even if they don't play very well, they've got Haaland up front. And I think he's still got a lot to give, a lot of years left in him. So, I can still see them winning it this year. But I think Arsenal are going to be up there again just because they have strengthened. I still feel they're lacking with a striker at number 9. I think that's the one area that I'd say. And again, you compare it to where City were a couple of years ago, and albeit they're winning the Premier League, they've won it 3 times in a row now, and 2 of those without Haaland. It was always their kind of, I think it was their Achilles heel, wasn't it? It was having that number 9 to kind of get them over the line, particularly in Europe. They got that, and I look at the way that they set up now, and I think Bayern Havertz is not the answer to their problems.
Do you know? Sorry, Arsenal fans. He looked like the same Kai Havertz today, which I was pretty happy about.
Yes, secretly. I mean, I don't not wish him well, but I mean, if you're going to go to a rival, I don't want you to thrive, right? So, and I certainly don't want you to outperform the way you did for us.
Sure.
So if you can have a conversion rate of like 10% like you did for us, that'd be great. So, but no, I think they will come in second.
Arsenal,
and I think United will be just behind them.
Third.
But I think with the United, it's that slight. Honestly, they're dark horses because you don't think you can ever call Man United dark horses.
No.
But because they obviously have been way off their usual mark with the players. Well, the players that they had in the last couple of years, they brought in, especially under the Ten Hag era. I feel like they're genuinely good signings, whereas we knew there was a lot of dead wood before that. Again, that was just through mixed, different managers and different styles of play. But yeah, Højlund coming in.
Yeah, interesting.
I like him. I think there's for some reason I think it's just like
the comparison thing's stupid though.
Yeah, right? English media, both like formal media and social media, just don't help with that. But I think he could be good. I would have loved to sign and put it that way for Chelsea. So if he comes good, they've already got Rashford, Garnacho. He looks like a dick, doesn't he? But he looks good as well.
Yeah, he's one of those. He backs
just
it
got
up
the mold,
in a way, doesn't he?
As I said, if he backs it up, and So I'm thinking that they will come in second or thirds. Fourth spot's a hard one, isn't it? I think this year.
I think you can write us off.
I don't know. I think again, like you can only base it off pre-season, which is not always a good kind of yardstick. But the way that we scored, I don't know how many goals last year. Was it under 4?
A lot.
Right?
It was Did we finish? I'm pretty sure we finished minus goal difference last year.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure Haaland beat us.
Oh yeah, that was right. That was the stat, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's an improvement this year, and I think most fans will take that. We just want to see progression.
Yeah,
and
a bit of passion back
from last year.
Yeah.
And they've
Let's not make this. We don't want to. Yeah, wrong time to talk about Chelsea. Yeah.
But yeah, they've made some positive signs in the transfer market, and that's reflected in some goals pre-season. So I'd like to think we'd be a bit more of an attacking force this year, and with Poch's style of play. But yeah, I think there's still a few question marks. I think Newcastle and Villa look good. Very good.
Come on. You've got to pick fourth.
I want to. Yeah, it's not Spurs, that's for sure.
Sorry, Ian.
I'll play it safe and go Newcastle.
Okay.
And then Chelsea.
Just fifth. Nice. Nice. Okay, mate. You've probably been thinking too much about football, but is there anything that you want to ask Harry Purdy, coach, podcast host, that you don't ask me as a mate before we finish the show?
So okay, we I would say we're in phase 2, right, of what you've made this into.
Yeah.
Like you said, you had the grassroots thing first. That's kind of been retired now.
Yeah.
To the archives.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Never forgotten. But we're now into the 100%
sure, yeah,
podcast, and that is both in your coaching as well as in the podcast stuff. So that there's an obvious, connection, relationship between the two things, which I think is good. I think it's kind of honed in on what
brand on brand, right?
Yeah, exactly that. But is there something else now? Because you've kind of opened your horizons up.
Widely?
Yeah, widely, broadly, because it's like you said before, this was very much looking at people in sport, and again, I know you said you were picking up on the little nuggets around psyche stuff. You've tapped into that now. You've made that a thing.
Yeah, we're
into this kind of phase where you're doing interviews, and it's more around, like you said, it's that mental resilience, it's that overcoming things, it's that 100% type to label it. But is there something else that you would want to kind of do next? And it's not something like you have to come and, this is not you going on an official announcement to say I'm doing this. But is there something that you, as a coach, as a podcast host, but also as a person, think, do you know what? Like I can take what I've done from these experiences and be talking to these people, and I want to do this. I want to explore that, and that could be maybe in a career progression or something like that, and just say, do you know what? Using what I've done now, I want to go and do that or look at that or.
Yeah, and it's actually a great question. It took a while.
It took me long enough to think about it. Right? The
So
little people upstairs were panicking. They were like,
really, on a sense of things, if you break it down into the way that I break down my life now, so fitness-wise, it's not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but there's obviously the ultra marathon on the horizon. I'm really pushing to get things right with. I've always trained, but maybe not backed it up the best with nutrition. So that's like the two things on that front, which is a little bit boring. But what I'm saying is family and friend relationships are good. The fun side of my life is good. I've just booked a holiday to Bali, and on the financial side, I'm putting all this work in, mate. That's, as you see, like it's not being managed by anybody other than myself. I feel like I could. Sometimes there is still that holding back voice in my brain that's like, don't post too much, don't do too much, because people will think this or whatever. But I know
people
are
always going to think just.
Exactly.
I'm preaching to the choir here,
Cheers,
right?
coach. Cheers, coach.
But,
Yeah, and I need to push that on to the next level, because obviously the more, I know it sounds a bit cliche, right? But the more people I can help, the better it will serve me, and the other way around, right? So the more I can improve this from a financial side now. So potentially I keep pushing on to maybe 150, 200 episodes, and then a sponsor that links with the podcast. Like I'm never going to choose I don't know, something that I want it to be true to the show. So something that backs it up. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to say any names or brands because it'd be stupid for me to, but that would be something that would be cool. Something that I can, a partnership that I can work with and maybe make some money from the podcast with. That's like a long-term goal. But from my coaching, like I'd say I'm probably in phase 1 of that still. And I feel like I can upgrade. So this is a spoiler. There will be a journal that can go alongside the podcast now. So as you're aware, the physical and mental health side of the show is huge. If I can, obviously you've seen me when I've been at my lowest, and if I don't feel like as much as I do try and pass on those tips within my coaching, when people invest in me, I find that it's not just the physical stuff that they need help with. It is actually mainly linked to you have to work on the mental side first before you can get in and then start working on the physical side. So I want to branch out into that and physical. Whereas as much as I say it sometimes, I think my posts can be very much, here's how you lose weight. When some people are like, well, I kind of know how to lose weight, but it's actually, I need to get past the motivation side of it, or I don't feel very well side of things before you can get there. So what I'm going to create is basically a free journal. It's either going to be 2 weeks or a month's worth of paperwork. It's going to be a PDF file that you can print off, and it's going to be action-based, goal-related journal that you can fill in every day, in the morning and at night. And it's going to be basically based off of living 100% lifestyle and trying to get yourself to the best percentage you can possibly be. Right? This is like it's still kind of a bit airy, but that makes sense. Yeah. So say you're feeling 40%. This journal is going to help you get as close to 100% as you can possibly be. And within doing that, you're going to be ticking off those things of, right, so today I don't feel very well, but how do I want to feel? Okay, does that involve me going out for a walk for the first time this week? Yeah, maybe it does. Okay, so that then improves the physical stuff, right? So that's a little bit of a spoiler. That's coming soon. It's going to be a free giveaway. It's going to look sick. I'm working with Total Brandits again, who obviously helped recreate the whole 100% thing. And I know that it's going to look professional. And I'm quite excited because I've had the free audiobook as a giveaway for a while, which was obviously fat loss related. But now working on and trying to help with people's mental health has got to be high on the agenda, because it's such a common thing now. I don't mean that in a negative way, but I don't think people are taught how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's spoken about enough. Yeah, it's okay not being okay. Everyone knows that now. That message has been passed around, but not everybody's sure how to go from not feeling okay to feeling okay. And if I can change that, mate, then that's got to be my mission.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
Thanks, mate.
And it clearly, sorry, just to say, it clearly reinstates that you've got an idea.
Yeah.
Right. This is something that's brewing, and you're just working the fine tuning of what you want to do and how you're going to go about it. But like I said, that the journalist example just shows that little bit of progression in the coaching side of things.
Yeah.
And then it's just where the podcast can evolve as well.
Yeah, and on that note, obviously, I have the setup now. The evolution is there. Obviously, at the moment, you've got Windows behind me. Maybe not the next time, but by the 17th of this month, I have a guest booked in for that evening, and by then, I have a deadline to get this room set how I want it. So potentially some like no CEOs, sound absorbers on the wall, orange lighting around to just make it look a little bit more effective, and we go from there. So that's that. And then of course, like I'm not utilizing YouTube at all really. So that's the next notch of the thing. Voizey, what a great question. Thank you so much for coming on. I've kind of done it already, mate, but seriously, it's been a joy. I'm sure it won't be the last time you come on the show, because there's always a space for you, my friend. This has been
pilot of the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Right? There we go. Pilot YouTube channel. But this basically it'd be this. It would be this. We'd just be doing it more on a video front than a podcast one. But mate, I would say, do people want to come and find you? But you don't want to have random people come and find you on Instagram unless you want to drop your handle.
No, my door's always open. I'm not private, but yeah, and it is just my name. But,
sick,
yeah.
Mate. This has been episode 113 of the 100% podcast from me, your host Harry Purdy, and today's guest Lewis Voizey. If you have enjoyed the episode, please go over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and drop a 5-star review. It does go a long way to helping the show. And if you want to hear more from me and see more from me, you can find me at Harry Purdy Official on Instagram. And if you want to click the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, my episodes will go straight to your download folder. I'll see you with a new episode every Monday and Friday. Take care.